Hello guys, Sirgrandelot here. My previous Floor 9 and Floor 10 of Yebis guides aimed at new players are now outdated because MiHoYo changed the monster composition of those floors. How kind of them. So we have to start from scratch. Now the good news is the same team building ideas and strategy that worked for the old rotation of Floor 9 still apply. We just need to arrange things slightly differently in order to make sure that our teams are ready for the different monster composition. In case you missed my previous videos, these guides that I'm making are aimed at players who are relatively new to the game and or have a limited roster of characters, but would like to clear the last 4 floors of the Abyss in order to get those sweet Primogems. And what I mean by limited roster of characters is that there is a pool of characters that we receive for free, but as we play the game, naturally we will increase the amount of characters that we have, because when there is a 5-star character that you really like, you will pull for that character, and along the way you will pick up extra 4-star characters. So the advice that I will give you in terms of team building is usually based around general team ideas that you will be able to adapt slightly depending on which characters you have available, and I will give you a few hints regarding that. A thing that I want to ignore when I'm making these videos is the blessing of the Abyssal Moon. Now, you should not ignore it, because sometimes the blessings are so obscene that if you have a team that is able to abuse them, you will have a much easier time completing the Abyss. The problem is that this blessing that makes Dendro one-shot the universe is available now that we have Tighnari as a banner, because MiHoYo wants to sell him as much as possible. So in 2 weeks from now the blessing will change, and if you watch this video and I clear the Abyss by abusing this mechanic, you will be like, Sirgrandelot, what the fuck? So I will completely ignore this, but you should not. If you have the ability to actually abuse this kind of blessing every time that you do an Abyss rotation, it's going to help you immensely. Let's get to the monster composition of the new Floor 9, because it changed completely. A term that I often use when I describe Abyss floors is random trash. Random trash means monsters for which you don't really need to worry about elemental nonsense. Here in the second half, these are the new monsters for Sumeru. They don't do any elemental stuff, we don't need to worry about them. Here there are basically all the elements, so it's not like we can counter them with something. We just throw whatever characters we have at them, and we will see if our damage is good enough. Chamber 2 is slightly different, because the first half is again mostly trash, but in the second half we have a Hydro Abyss Mage. And in order to handle a Hydro Abyss Mage as quickly as possible, we want Cryo, because this will freeze the Hydro Abyss Mage in place, remove his shield, and then we can deal with the rest of the random garbage we get. Chamber 3 is very similar to Chamber 1, meaning that the team composition that we use here is going to work very well here as well. We don't need to worry about particular elemental issues. So what kind of teams can we compose? Using characters that are available to everyone, I came up with these 2 teams. While we were having a look at the monster composition, the only thing that activated my almond was the Hydro Abyss Mage in the second half, so we want to put Keia or any other Cryo character you have built in the second half. Everything else is essentially up to you. You just would really like a healer on both sides. And since Shanling synergizes very well with Barbara, I came up with this team for the first half. Main character could very well be Anemo in the first half, and she would be doing a great job, but I don't have the Anemo character, main character built, so I'm using her as Dendro. Similar thing for the second half, I put Collei just because she's a free-to-play character that we all got after Sumeru. My Collei is not built at all, but, you know, she will be there, she will be in the 4th slot. A thing about Fischl, she's not really a free-to-play character, but we received her twice already as a free character during in-game events. So unless you start to play Genshin Impact right when Sumeru dropped, you have a Fischl. If you do not have a Fischl, you can replace her with any other 4-star character, or 5-star character for that matter, who can deal damage, because this team just needs an off-field damage dealer. Could be Beidou, Rosaria, Xingqiu, Chongers, Yanfei, anyone you have available. Cards reset each day, so if one day you do an Ibis run and you are missing full stars by just a handful of seconds, you may try the following day to see if you can get better cards. And you should always look for cards that are effective the whole floor and keep the effective chamber only for situations where the other 2 cards are absolutely trash, or if you are on the last chamber. The rotation for this team will always be main character doing her thing, Ember doing her thing, then you quickly go to Barbara, and then you go to Xiangling. Barbara is equipped with 3 lintels of Dragon Slayers, so we want her on the field before switching to Xiangling, so that Xiangling can get her buff. Monsters will spawn in front and behind you for the first wave, then to your left and to your right for the second wave, then the third wave monsters will be spread a bit everywhere and it's a bunch of nonsense. You usually want to have Barbara on the field to apply Hydro, and Xiangling will obliterate everything. Let's go! We switch to Barbara, and then Xiangling, and then back to Barbara. Here, I already moved slightly to one side, meaning that the second wave of monsters spawned right on top of me. It helps to save time. Oh. Don't need to worry too much about a little bit of incoming damage. If you want to be an Omega tryhard, you can try to dodge everything. But having a healer in the team means that you can focus on dealing damage and getting rid of monsters quickly. The second half of the first chamber is kinda similar to the first half, meaning that monsters will spawn in front and behind you, and then to the sides. And here the rotation will depend a little bit on which characters you decided to use. My best built character in this team is Noelle, although I gave her a Favonius Sword here to avoid letting you see Noelle one-shotting everything, because that will not be very helpful for you. And she will be my on-field driver. If you have other built characters, they will be your on-field driver. A disclaimer that I often make is that my Noelle build is built incredibly well and she's Constellation 6. Unfortunately, in the game there is no way to disable constellations, meaning that I cannot have Noelle deal no damage. This is what she does. And but the good news is that it doesn't really matter for you, because you will have other characters that are built well. You may even have some 5-star characters, and they will deal even more damage than Noelle. So you probably already have a replacement for her. You don't need to worry about your Noelle dealing less damage than mine. What matters is having characters who can clear the floor in a reasonable amount of time. I cleared it with 8 minutes left. You just need 5 minutes left. So it's just a matter of character investment. Second chamber, again, we pick up a card that can be helpful in the whole floor. Here in the second chamber, what you can do is just stay in the center, because this chamber will spawn a ton of monsters all around you, and there are Hilichurs that are going to come after you, so you don't really need to chase them around too much. Some of the Hilichurs will be the little shaman dudes, and more often than not they will not really run at you, but they're not too far from the center, so you will just need to take a few steps in one direction or the other to kill them, while the other melee Hilichurs go after you. See, they're all coming for us. We don't have a lot of energy on Xiangling, so we need to recharge her a little bit. There you go. And the whole chamber is just this process repeated until the end of the chamber. There is not any illegal secret tech that you can do to get better times. As long as you can group them up and have Xiangling and Barbar do their thing, you're going to have a very, very easy time in the Abyss. Here is the Shaman dude, you will need to walk to him because he's not coming after you at all. These are the last monsters of the chamber, so if you have a lot of time left, you could consider taking it slow and saving your burst for the last floor. The second half of the second chamber is a little bit different. 5 monsters will spawn in the first wave, and there will be slimes and Hilichurl shamans, and then there will be the 2 Hydro Abyss mages spawning together. Kaeya can essentially solo them, you don't need to worry about them too much. Just take your time, because 5 minutes left is fairly easy to achieve. This guy for me is one of the most obnoxious things in the game, so I always try to kill him first. And then we go to the Abyss mages. You could really solo them with Kaeya, very easily. But I want to speed up the process a little bit, because I also need to make a guide for floor 10 eventually. Last chamber, here you have a lot more freedom when it comes to the cards. You can pick up the one that benefits your team the most. For me, I would say it's this one. Here you want to stay roughly at the center, because some monsters will spawn to your front and to your sides, and then the second wave will spawn to the back and to your sides. To the sides there will be 2 tiny green mushrooms that sometimes don't move at all, so it's better to be roughly in the center and start hitting those. Hello, tiny mushroom. Yeah, tiny mushroom is not moving, so we need to work toward it. And Xiangling is a very energy hungry character, so every time that you see particles flying around, either generated by your character's elemental skills, or by Favonius weapons, if you have any, you should try to have Xiangling on the field. Now that all our bursts are up, we just repeat the process of dumping everything. I honestly didn't notice the guy had 1 hit point left. I thought he was dead. Okay, second half. Here we have the 3 dudes that are just melee guys that will come after you. So you can enjoy this chamber. It's not going to be particularly difficult in terms of the things that you have to do. We'll let Odds finish this guy. Okay, never mind. Noel's shield finished that guy. GG, we did it, we got full stars. Character investment for most of the characters that you saw in this guide was extremely low, so there is a good chance that your Collei will be much better than mine, your Barbara will be better than mine, your Kaeya could be comparable. If you are a new player, there is a good chance that your Fischl and your Noel will not be as invested as mine. Unfortunately, there is no way in this game to toggle constellations on or off, because her Constellation 6 makes a huge difference in her damage output. output. That's the reason why I was using a Favonius Greatsword on her rather than the Redhorn Stone Thrasher, because her damage output with that weapon is absolutely insane. Some of my weapons also have a high refinement. I have a few weapons that are refinement 5. But you should not think that you need the Constellation 6 on your characters and refinement 5 on your weapons to approach the Abyss. There is a good chance your characters will deal more damage than the one that I showed you in this video, because of the weapons that I was using. All my characters, apart from Fischl, had energy regeneration oriented weapons, meaning that the damage output was actually fairly low for each of my characters, and some of them are not even built particularly well. My Shanling is extremely underwhelming compared to the Shanling of many other people who built her much better. The two things that matter the most in the Abyss, and this is valid for all floors of the Abyss, are team building and character investment. When it comes to team building, you just have to look at the monster composition, and this will give you very good hints regarding what kind of team you should field, which element should be in which half, which elements are not particularly favored. And regarding character investment, this is something that just comes over time. In the beginning, you should focus on talents and leveling up your characters, leveling up your weapons. Then, as you get an increased roster of characters and increased roster of weapons, you can start to optimize your teams and your characters a little bit. So if you're missing some stars, don't worry, they will come. Over time, they will all come. It's just a matter of making your character stronger. That's all for my Floor 9 guide. If it was useful, remember to thumbs up, and I will see you next time with the Floor 10 guide. Bye guys, take care.